Today, I am joined by the SVP of Revenue at Spyglass, where he supports and leads the sales organization. One motto that he lives by is do hard things. I sent Larry a text. A few minutes later, I get a text message, and I look down and he goes, "Hey, I assumed this wasn't meant for me. I'll call you in a few minutes." I called you, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna get fired.
With a highly specialized consulting group like ours, I don't think you can fully automate that. You can automate portions of it for sure. We're working very hard to figure out what are all the high friction things that sellers have to do on a day-to-day basis that they don't want to do. It's just the new thing that you can do on that front to try to get in front of people that are difficult to get in front of.
Treat everybody as your mentor. What do you mean by that?
Sometimes the best piece of wisdom comes from unexpected places. Approach every person that you interact with like they've got something to offer that might just make you think about something a little differently.
Life's a Pitch is a podcast where we talk about all the shit that actually happens when you're building a business, leading people, and just trying to live your damn life all at the same time. Welcome to Life's a Pitch. I am your host, Jared Gibson, and today I am joined by, fun fact, the best man at my wedding, but also happens to be the SVP of Revenue at Spyglass, a technology firm where he supports and leads the sales organization. Larry is a natural coach and leader of people. One motto that he lives by is do hard things, which I think is pretty cool. And I've known Larry for a long time, so I'm excited to have him on the podcast. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. And I want to point out that do hard things phrase has become almost cliche in the last few years with hustle culture and other various things, but we've been saying do hard things at Spyglass for 20 years.
You had it before the bros. Before the
That's
bros
right.
were throwing it out there. All right. You have one of the things that you have in your LinkedIn profile that has been there forever. It's not like fancy and you don't have all the gurus tell you this is what you need to do. But I think it's interesting because I know there's a story behind it, is treat everybody as your mentor. Tell me, like, how did that come about? And like, what do you mean by that?
So it's treat everyone as your mentor is part of what we call the Seiler Code. So the Seiler Code is just a set of principles that our family looks to live up to. And so, when Jesse and I had our first child, Jackson, we started to kind of look to put some language around how we wanted to parent, who we wanted to be, as a family. You hear like different ethos or creeds or, the Navy SEALs have the SEAL code. And so that's sort of where it originated. And we put together a set of sayings that we felt like would be sticky language that would remind us of how we want to show up. We're not perfect, of course. But one of those sayings was treat everyone as your mentor. And so we had been saying it for a long time. And the basic idea behind that is, sometimes the best piece of wisdom comes from unexpected places. You can't judge a book by its cover. You should really approach every person that you interact with like they've got something to offer that might just make you think about something a little differently.
I actually did not know that story, where it came from. All right, so let's talk about Spyglass really quick. This has been great because Spyglass was a massive part of my career. I actually worked under Larry. Larry got me the job at Spyglass. It was one of those cases where I was working for a job right out of college that I absolutely hated. And I remember it was the Ohio State-Iowa game. I called Larry. You were back up in Cleveland. I'm like, dude, I hate this job. And you're like, why don't you move back home with your parents and interview up here at Spyglass? And I actually did it. And I interviewed there. Fun fact, when I studied for the company, it was the wrong Spyglass that I was studying to interview for. Still ended up getting the job. And that's definitely where I think I grew up as a professional, just doing cold calling, 100 plus dials a day, inside sales, outside sales, everything. So I was there for about 9 years. And during that time, I think I was the sixth employee at the time. Larry, you were like maybe the fourth or fifth that was hired. The company's grown significantly since then. Whole different world today than it was back then. But why don't you give Larry a kind of a high level breakdown of what Spyglass is? And then we've got some funny ass stories. I've got one off the top of my head, and I'm sure you do too, that we can tell, and then we'll get into some other stuff.
Yeah, so Spyglass, as a business, what we do for our clients is we're a specialized tech advisor. So what most of our clients know us to be as a telecom audit group. So we perform essentially cost audits to help organizations recoup past funds that they may have paid in error to a provider or optimize the cost center. So it's a cost reduction play that's usually most interesting to a CFO or a CIO of a mid-sized to large business. That's what we do for our clients. I think, where your experience is at the company, and I think what's kept me here all these years is just all the amazing people that have been part of the company, and the way in which we really launch careers like yours, and then all the stories that have been shared, over the 20 years that I've been with the company that are similar to that. Like we do that as well as we serve our clients.
Awesome. Yeah. I think every city has these companies that are almost like the breeding ground for high level salespeople. Like Chicago's got
Groupon. Would Groupon be in that category?
perfect example. Groupon is in Chicago, where like I was out last night to a holiday party, and there was probably 6 ex Groupon people at this dinner that all knew each other, but were all leaders of their own companies today. I view Spyglass as that in the Cleveland area. A lot of people, like if I just tell them that I worked at Spyglass and they're from Cleveland, they know somebody that was at Spyglass, or in some cases, like they were at Spyglass at some point. So it's a company that's definitely grown. Now, there's some funny stories back in the day. I'm going to tell one. Ed is one of the founders of the company. Great guy. Loved working for Ed. Still love Ed. We've all probably had that instance where we may have sent an email or a text message to somebody we thought, like for this case, I thought I was sending Larry a text message, and I accidentally sent a text message to Ed. And this was back in the day where people were faxing over contracts. And the story is, it was a Friday afternoon. I lived in Columbus, Ohio, and it was at about 1:00, and I was waiting for a contract to come in. I think it was toward the end of the month. And Ed was like, hey, hop in your car and go get it. And by the way, this was in Pittsburgh, or central PA. It was actually west of Pittsburgh. So it was a good 4.5 hour drive. So I wouldn't have gotten there till literally right at about 5:00. And it's the whole, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I've got a meeting. Care if I just swing by and pick up the contract before the end of the day? You don't have to be there. You can just leave it on the front desk.
We did it many times.
Yep. Many a times we did. And it worked almost every single time. Nobody actually said, bullshit, you're not going to be in the area, which I'm sure that they were thinking. They're just like, this dude is desperate. You want to drive all the way here to get it? Prove it. And I would go and I would do it. Well, this is one instance where I definitely did not want to do it. And I sent Larry a text, and I think the exact text was, Ed wants me to drive to central Pennsylvania on Friday to pick up a contract for a shitty potential client. Yeah, fucking right. I think it's something of that
like
nature.
That. I think it was actually, I think you were referencing how big it was, like a $3,000 spender or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a small deal.
Small opportunity. I wait, I get a few minutes later, I get a text message, and I look down, it's from Ed, and he goes, hey, I assume this wasn't meant for me. I'll call you in a few minutes. And that was like that.
I think he actually made you sweat it out over the weekend, if I'm remembering the story correctly. I think
we talked.
I thought he made you sit on that all weekend, and you guys talked Monday or Tuesday.
No, we talked because I was making sure that was not going into the weekend. I thought I was done. I texted you, I called you, and I was like, dude, I'm going to get fired. I think my time here, it's been a great run. I think I'm done.
Yeah, you could definitely get fired. You could definitely get fired for that.
100%. You probably should be fired for me. Luckily I think I had built up enough equity at that point in time, but I talked to him and reamed. I was falling on my sword. Every single sword that I could find, I was falling on. He reamed my ass out, which he should have done. So that's one story. I'm sure a lot of people have those stories where they sent a message to the wrong person.
Because I figured he would obviously connect the dots that I was supposed to be on the receiving end of that text message. And it was probably wondering, is this the kind of dialogue that Larry and Jared are having? So I had to call him and just sort of let him know, like, this is part of my role in this relationship, is I just sometimes have to let you vent.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that got me out of the penalty box.
Yep. Good job. You got any good stories that you can remember from back in the day? I'm sure you got a bunch
Does
of
it
new
have
ones,
to be
but
something that involves the both? I think it should involve the both of us, just because we spend so much time together in our personal and professional lives. But one of the early ones that involves you. So like, if you could picture what our first office at Spyglass looked like, it was basically like probably about 1,000 square feet with a few private offices, and then it had one of these like incredibly soul-sucking cubicle workstation setups that you would see in movies like Office Space. And that's where Jared and I spent the majority of our time. It was very much like a dial for dollars type environment. We were making phone calls from a really, really crummy old school CRM, with very little information available to us in order to enable us to make these phone calls. And they were rough. A lot of them were rough. And I think you were having a bad day. And I don't know if you knew that at the time, and we're a super small company, and we had a bookkeeper that
oh
was
God, the
probably
bookkeeper.
70 or 80 years old. Lovely, lovely lady.
Very nice
Can't
lady.
remember,
Very nice lady.
can't remember what her name was.
Let's
But
just
she
call
was
her Barb.
great. Yeah, let's call her Barb. Okay. So Barb is off, like, again, we're not talking about a really big office space. And Barb is off in this little storage area that had been converted into an office for her to do her bookkeeping services. And you were having a bad day. And apparently, one more CFO conversation that didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. And when I say you were slamming the phone, like if that phone didn't completely explode, then it was indestructible, because it was the banging going on. I couldn't see it happening, but I could only hear it, and the absolute just tornado of cussing and swearing. The things you were saying about humanity, it was
It was not
intense
pretty.
storm coming from you. And poor Barb, it's like 10
I didn't know
feet
she was
away.
there. I didn't know she was there.
She's 10 feet away. And after like the dust settles and you calm down a little bit, she sort of tiptoes out of that office and just is like, everything okay, guys?
Oh
Is
God.
everything all right?"
That was the worst, dude. I remember I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were here. And she's like, oh yeah, I am. And she walked back in, and I got up and I walked into her little area in there, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Whatever anybody that's listening to this can imagine, whatever you think I said, it was 10 times worse than that.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was bad. It was not a professional. It was not a
No.
professional move that I
No.
did that day.
But
So,
I mean,
yeah,
to your credit, I think
multiple stories.
I think you learned something through that. And,
Oh yeah.
you didn't have that much of an explosion. Like part of sales is obviously just being able to sort of manage the ups and downs of it. And sometimes you're going to get a little hot. Like that's part of being a good salesperson.
Yep. Yeah, there's a million more stories that we could get into, but I want to talk a little bit about Spyglass right now. Like my vision of Spyglass and what I know of Spyglass is very different than what is reality today for you guys. How is AI? I'm curious to hear how this intertwines, but how is AI playing a factor in really your guys' kind of go-to-market strategy moving forward right now?
So strictly on the go-to-market side?
Or let's just take away overall. Let's go overall. Yeah.
Well, I'll break it into those two chunks because I think you think about it in different ways. So, AI is playing a huge role in our just overall go-to-market motions, from the actual tools that we use and then workflows that are powered, inside of those tools. So like we have our tech stack. I'll just give you a lay of the land on that. Like we're HubSpot, CRM, and marketing automation. We just deployed it here recently, a pretty slick AI dialer called Nooks. We have, DocuSign, Cognizant's the data provider. That's like the lay of the land. And I think in terms of like how AI is impacting our go-to-market motions, like we're working very hard to figure out like what are all those like high friction things that sellers have to do on a day-to-day basis that they don't want to do. Things like researching accounts, trying to add contacts, validating phone numbers and email addresses, like all of those things. That's like the dawn of what AI can do for you as a go-to-market team. But it takes time to stand it all up correctly, and it takes somebody who's skilled in understanding your current set of operations and then how to integrate, operationalize those kinds of tools. So it's having a huge impact. And, by the time this likely would come out, like I'm sure in your world, you're very well versed in all the AI SDR stuff that exists and all the available tools that are out there on that front. So we're exploring all of those. We haven't taken the lead just yet, but I imagine at some point we will. And those sorts of things, like I don't know how all companies are looking at those things, but we're looking at it from the perspective of just how do we enhance the experience and elevate the job for our human sellers. Right. So it's not like, we sell to CFOs and CIOs and we're looking to land anywhere between, 200 to 300 meetings of pipeline every single month. And so, it's a good sized team. We need a lot of pipeline to do what we do. And so we're viewing it as, a lot of this AI SDR things, I think it's like new age digital marketing. It's just the new thing that you can do on that front to try to get in front of people that are difficult to get in front of. So we're exploring all of those things. That's like on the go-to-market side. And then, of course, we use tools like Gong to help us understand what's happening in conversations, and then also from a forecasting standpoint, so we can run and manage the business effectively. I should have mentioned Gong. Gong's a beast. I'm sure you talked to a lot.
Shout out Gong.
Yeah, it's a beast. That's the go-to-market side. On the substance of what we do as a business for our clients, it's also having, a pretty big impact there. Historically, we've been, I mentioned that we are known for doing cost audits, for companies. And for most of our history, those audits were highly manual. We would order reporting, we would get materials from a client, we would order a whole bunch of back-end reporting from providers, and we would, assemble spreadsheets. It's advanced, of course, like in the last 20 years. It went from like literally keying in data entry type spreadsheets to then like you're formatting input files and stuff like that. And now we have a custom homegrown project management portal that we use to house all of the materials that a client would have for a project. But, there are a lot of things that AI can do to enable sort of like the middle of those processes, right?
Yep.
I think you're going to always, with a highly specialized consulting group like ours, I don't think you can fully automate that. You can automate portions of it for sure, but you're always going to need, highly skilled people on the front end, I believe, to like stand these things up and to use AI and technology in general as a teammate. And then you're going to need, highly skilled people that know how to like read and interpret the information coming out of these tools and turn that into something that can be high value advice to a customer. Yep. So we're in the messy middle right now trying to figure out how that shows up in our business, but there's some really exciting opportunities.
Yeah. And listen, everybody's in the messy middle right now. Like there's nobody that's got this shit figured out yet. So I do think that people that I talk to tend to think that they're behind in this, or they're just unsure of what's going to happen. And I think everybody's honestly in the same spot, just trying to figure it out, because new shit comes down the pipe like every single day. And it's a constant learning cycle that most businesses are going through right now. So I like that. That's great.
That's one of the hard things about it, though, to be candid. Like, if you want to talk about what challenges, I mean, there's some really exciting opportunities that I think that the challenging part is like knowing where to spend time, like what to spend time on learning.
Yeah. Yes.
Because there's just so much, and you don't want to like hitch your wagon to the wrong thing. So it's like there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to do. And when you get to like stage of career that you and I are in, where we've got some runway left, it's like, man, like you got to learn the right thing, not just more stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I hear you. All right. So want to jump into, we talked about some challenges. I think that's I usually ask the question, challenges you guys are going through. That was a great answer there. But one of the premises behind this podcast is that I'm not sure that there's such thing anymore as work-life balance. I know your family very well. I know you've got 3 kids that are very active in activities and sports. You've got a baller wife who has a great job, and she's very busy. Like, how do you guys have like a strategy in place that you use to really balance all of the chaos that you're dealing with, like when you're outside of the the walls of work, even though technically you still have shit that you need to get caught up on for work.
Yeah, I mean, it's chaos, man. It's just trying to find some sense of normalcy in the chaos. I was thinking about this the other day when I was on one of what was probably 3 trips that night, zigzagging all over the community we lived to pick up kids, drop kids off, do all that. I'm like, I don't understand how our parents did it,
dude,
without cell phone. I mean, like, I don't understand how they did it.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
It's crazy, but they did, and they figured it out too. And we were just as busy as the kids in today's environment are. But we just do the best we can, and we know we're going to slip up and make some errors here and there, and we try to give each other grace, when we do. But yeah, it's if every morning in our house, getting out of the house feels like a street fight.
Yeah.
I mean, every single day.
That's great.
It is a circus.
I get it. All right. So this is a section we call, I don't know why I always say we because it's just me, I call extra innings. So I got to build in more baseball mantras into the episodes, but this is one that definitely is stick. So it's extra innings, which is in essence rapid fire. So it's extra innings, rapid fire. So I'm going to give you a bunch of questions. You just give me answers, and I'll try not to continue to comment on what you say, but it's probably not going to happen. All right. What's something that you love talking about that drives everyone else in your life absolutely batshit crazy?
Well, it relates to what we were just talking about with respect to work-life balance and managing, very busy family schedules. I think the thing that would probably have the most crossover with work is I'm like a maniac about rituals, and routines and habits. I'm a psycho about it, and
yeah, I do.
At its core, I'm just somebody that I believe in standards, and I believe that you say you're going to do something, you do it. And, I'm probably not pleasant to be around, when somebody in my house is 1 minute late to being somewhere they're supposed to be. And then I, of course, get all preachy and start lecturing everybody about, the importance of being on time. And it happens both in my personal life and my work life. And, I can tell it. I can tell the people. I can tell it drives everybody crazy because I say it so much that everyone rolls their eyes.
Do people wait for you to be a minute late? I hope to God Larry's a few minutes late so we can give him shit right back.
Probably.
Because you're not always on time. Nobody's always on time every time.
No, I mean, stuff happens. There can be emergencies, but the stuff that you can control, that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
You can't, but you gotta get the things you can control right.
All right. What's the last thing that genuinely scared you?
The last thing that genuinely scared me is my son Jackson took a really bad and freaky hit in his freshman football season where he was either knocked unconscious or just in shock for a period of 10 seconds and didn't really move after basically getting folded in half backwards and taking, a helmet to basically his face mask and helmet. So yeah, that's one of those lots of things sort of flash before you, when you see something like that. But thankfully, given how bad it looked, the injuries were pretty limited and he's made a full recovery.
Awesome. Yep. Saw him recently and healthy and good to go back on the field. What's the one tool that you use in work that you cannot live without?
So this is a pretty basic answer, but a wireless mouse. I don't know how I see all of the 20-somethings that in our office that can navigate a keypad without using a mouse and can do it really well. I think you're actually one of those people, if I'm remembering correctly from watching you work not long ago.
Like a 20-something? I am.
Yeah.
I am.
I
fit right in.
Can't, I'm useless without a mouse.
Yeah.
I'm so off balance if I don't have a mouse. I will start rummaging through workstations here if I forget my mouse for a day or I don't have one. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be weird if I went back to a mouse at this point. What's the one truth about business leadership that you didn't believe until you actually lived it?
One truth about business that I did not believe until I actually lived it. I would just say that things are going to be hard. You know, they're going to get hit with surprises and things you don't expect. And even when times are good, like something hard's probably coming and you got to be ready for it. You know, I think you have this, at least I did. I don't know if everyone would feel this way, but I just had this perspective or thought when I first started out, you know, my business life or in sales, that like I could just outwork whatever would come our way, right? Or if I just worked really, really hard, chances are the path to success would be a fairly straight line. And that's just not how it goes. You know, it's just not. So I would say that's probably, you know, the reality of, or something that hit me that I didn't believe in it. And now you know, there's tons of ups and downs. You kind of know. And like when things are good, you kind of know you're looking around the corner and wondering, how long is this going to last? You know, and when things are rough or you're going through something that requires hard change, like you kind of know too, that if you stay the course and stay with it long enough and you're convicted about the outcome you're seeking, like you'll get through it, you know?
Yeah. Boy, dude, that's pretty motivational right there. Appreciate you sharing that. Could run through a brick wall right now.
You knew you were going to
run through a wall.
I only know how to be one way, man.
What one person, living or dead, that you would absolutely love to sit down and have dinner with?
Yeah, so I mean, it's still fresh, but it would be my dad. You know.
Yeah.
Yep. So you know this, but my dad, if anyone's listening,
probably
my dad passed.
Two people.
My dad passed in March of 2024, and you know, he was sick for a little while before that, so we certainly had time to sort of say our goodbyes. But he wasn't himself the last few months, and yeah, I mean, like he's just one of those guys that that. He had a way about him where when you were with him, like you just felt good. It was almost impossible not to. He had a way with people that was captivating, and you just always like he'd always give pretty sound advice and listen and be there, and you know, he had, the way I describe it to people is like he had what I think is maybe one of the rarest gifts you can have, which is he can say just about anything, and he can give you a piece of advice that you absolutely need to hear without it creating any hard feelings, you know, and that's a talent, you know, and he just did it unconsciously. That's just who he was, you know, not a perfect guy, you know, but none of us are. But man, he was just fun to be around. You felt good when you were around Senior.
Yep. Senior was the man, and Senior would be very happy to know that his beloved Buckeyes are sitting today as the national champions, for sure.
Yes, he would. That would be, he's celebrating, for sure.
Yeah. All right, last question. First concert, last concert.
Oh, geez, if I had just gone to a concert, you would have actually been there for both. First concert was Green Day in 1994, the Dookie tour.
1994. Yeah, that was mine.
And then you and I just saw Green Day not long ago at Riot Fest in Chicago, which was awesome. But I've actually been to one concert since, which was Green Sky Bluegrass.
Okay, good band. Isn't that funny? You and I went to our same concert together, first concert together. It would have been the last concert. Seeing them again.
Yeah, it's like 30 years apart, almost. Well, that would have been 31. That was 94. But I saw one of my first concerts was 9 Inch Nails and David Bowie, which I think was in 1995. And then I saw.
Where'd your face go? Where'd your face go? Get your face back on
sorry. Camera. Yeah, I forget.
You slouching.
I saw them almost 30 years exactly later at Rocket.
That's another. I've never seen them.
Both those bands, Green Day and 9 Inch Nails, have been doing it at such an incredibly high level for 30 years. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've never seen 9 Inch Nails before, which I'm kind of ashamed of, considering how much I loved them back in the day. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, awesome. And Trent Reznor, shout out from Cleveland, Ohio.
That's right. He gave, like, when he was in Cleveland recently, he talked about like just sort of driving around the city and seeing all the places that, you know, that really shaped him that are in the Cleveland area. Like it was a heartfelt tribute to the city. It was cool to see. You should look it up on YouTube I'm sure it's somebody posted it to YouTube. It's cool.
I know how to access the YouTube. I can figure that out.
Yeah, I would imagine.
All right, Larry. How do people find you?
Well, I'm not on TikTok.
Give them your personal home address. Everything.
So easiest way to find me is going to be through my professional social media LinkedIn profile.
Professional. You don't have a just joking around LinkedIn profile? I'm going to help you out too. lseiler@spyglass.net as well, if you want to reach out to Larry.
Yeah, that's my email.
Yeah. All right, Larry, thanks for coming on. That is a wrap for this episode of Life's a Pitch. Like I said, big thanks to Larry Seiler for coming on. I knew when I started my own personal podcast that Larry was at the top of the list of people that I wanted to get on just because of how much he's meant to me throughout my career, my life in general. So glad to make this happen. If you liked it, share it, tell a friend, or just steal something smart that he said and pretend it was yours. And remember, behind every strategy, title, or success story, there's chaos, self-doubt, and a whole lot of trial and error. See you next time.